Have you ever had one of those days where everything feels like it's collapsing at once? Your inbox is overflowing, deadlines are closing in. Someone you care about says something that cuts deep, and no matter how hard you try to keep it together, you can feel the pressure building inside, like a quiet storm waiting to explode. I know that feeling, we all do. There was a time when I used to think calmness was something you were born with, like some people were just naturally peaceful while others were constantly anxious. But over the years, I have learned something different. Calmness isn't a gift, it's a discipline. It's something you practice moment by moment, especially when life starts testing you. And no philosophy has helped me understand that more deeply than Stoicism, the ancient art of staying steady when everything around you feels uncertain. The Stoics lived in times far harsher than ours, war, exile, disease, yet their writings feel strangely relevant today. Because even though the world has changed, the human mind hasn't. We still wrestle with fear, anger, comparison, and doubt. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That one sentence changed how I see every challenge in my life, because when you really let those words sink in, you realize peace isn't about fixing everything outside you, it's about learning to govern what's inside you. A friend of mine, a surgeon, once told me about a moment that almost broke him. He was in the middle of a 6-hour operation when suddenly something went wrong. A machine failed. The patient's vitals started to drop, everyone panicked. But he didn't. He said he remembered one Stoic practice: focus only on what you can control. So he took a deep breath, slowed down his thoughts, and did what he could, one step at a time. Later he told me, that moment taught me that calm isn't the absence of chaos, it's the ability to act wisely within it. That's what this video is about, not perfection, not pretending to be emotionless, but learning how to stay calm under pressure, not by escaping stress, but by mastering how we meet it. Because let's be honest, pressure isn't going away. The world is faster, louder, more demanding than ever. You can't control what people say, you can't stop every crisis or every unexpected twist life throws at you. But you can control how you show up for it. That's what the Stoics practiced, daily, deliberately. They trained their minds the way athletes train their bodies. They wrote, they reflected. They faced discomfort on purpose. They reminded themselves that every challenge is a test, not from the world but from within. And here's the thing, when you start seeing life that way, everything shifts. The pressure doesn't crush you anymore, it shapes you. Imagine this, you're standing in the middle of chaos, noise, tension, fear, but inside you're still, you're aware, you're thinking clearly, you're not reacting from panic but responding from principle. That's not fantasy, that's practice. That's what the Stoics trained for. Maybe you've been there, in a relationship that's falling apart, or a job where every day feels like a battlefield. Maybe you're facing health issues, uncertainty, or just that quiet weight that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. You're not weak for feeling pressure, you're human. But here's what most people don't realize. Calm isn't something you wait to feel when life gets easier. It's something you build, like a muscle. And that's exactly what the Stoics mastered. They discovered 9 timeless practices, simple but deeply transformative, that train your mind to stay composed, grounded, and clear under any kind of stress. These are practices that helped soldiers remain steady in battle, leaders think clearly in crisis, and ordinary people find peace in the middle of pain. In this video, we're going to explore those 9 Stoic practices and how you can apply them right now in your everyday life. Whether you're navigating burnout, a breakup, or just the invisible pressure of trying to hold it all together, these teachings will help you not just survive the storm but find strength inside it. So take a deep breath. This isn't a lecture, this is a conversation about learning to face life with calmness, courage, and clarity. Because once you understand these 9 Stoic practices, you'll realize pressure doesn't have to control you. It can actually reveal you. Let's begin. 1. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Let's start with the cornerstone of Stoic calm, the idea that peace begins the moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Most of us spend half our lives fighting reality, arguing with things we wish were different, people we wish would change, outcomes we wish we could force. But the truth? The more we resist what we can't control, the more power we give it over us. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the largest empire in the world, said it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. I remember coaching a young entrepreneur who lost everything during a market crash. His first instinct was rage, to blame the system, the government, even himself. But after weeks of mental exhaustion, he finally said, I can't control the storm, but I can learn how to sail through it. That shift changed his life. The Stoics remind us, focus your energy on what's within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your response. Everything else, let it go. Because peace doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from controlling your reaction to it. When you practice this, pressure loses its grip. Suddenly you're no longer fighting reality, flowing with it. 2. Pause before you react. In moments of pressure, our first reaction is rarely our best one. Someone criticizes you. A deal falls apart. A loved one says something cruel. You feel that spark, the urge to snap, defend, or retreat. But the Stoics taught between the event and your reaction, there's a small space, and in that space lies your freedom. A friend of mine, a firefighter, told me something powerful. He said, when you walk into a burning building, panic kills faster than fire. So before he makes a move, he pauses, even for just a breath, to anchor himself. That 1 second of stillness can mean the difference between chaos and clarity. The same is true in life. Next time pressure hits, don't rush to react. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what's the most honorable response here? That pause is where your composure is built. The more you practice it, the longer that space becomes, until calm becomes your natural default, not your forced response. 3. Reframe the situation. Here's something most people don't realize. It's not the event itself that causes suffering, it's our interpretation of it. 2 people can face the exact same challenge. One sees it as a curse, the other as training. The Stoics chose the second view. Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. When pressure shows up, the Stoics ask, what if this is happening for me, not to me? I once met a single mother who had just lost her job. She told me through tears, maybe this is my chance to finally start that business I've been dreaming of. She didn't deny her fear, she reframed it. And 6 months later she had her first paying clients. That's the power of perception. You can't control what happens, but you can rewrite what it means. Every problem becomes a lesson, every setback becomes training. If you start viewing challenges as opportunities for growth, pressure no longer breaks you, it refines you. 4. Practice voluntary discomfort. We all want to feel comfortable, but comfort, when overused, makes us weak. That's why Stoics practice something unusual, veo3, voluntary discomfort. They would fast, sleep on the floor, take cold baths, walk barefoot in the rain. Not to punish themselves, but to build inner resilience. Seneca, one of Rome's richest men, would spend days eating the simplest food and wearing rough clothes just to remind himself, is this what I feared? I tried this once. For a week I slept without air conditioning in the middle of summer. It was uncomfortable, yes, but something amazing happened. I stopped being afraid of discomfort itself, and that fear, once gone, gave me strength. The truth is, if you only train yourself to handle what's easy, life will break you the first time something hard happens. But if you intentionally put yourself through small trials, big ones won't shake you. Start small, take a cold shower, skip one meal, put your phone away for a day. The goal isn't suffering, it's strength. The Stoics believe the body and mind must be tempered like steel, through heat, through pressure. That's how you build unshakable calm. 5. Negative visualization. The art of appreciating the present. This might sound strange at first, imagining loss to find peace, but the Stoics used a powerful exercise called negative visualization. They would picture losing what they loved, their health, their home, even the people they cared about, not to be morbid, but to wake up to gratitude. You see, we often take peace for granted until it's gone. We scroll through our phones, complain about the small stuff, forget that today itself is a gift. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "When you rise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to love, to act." When I worked with veterans returning from deployment, many of them told me the same thing. After facing death, every sunrise felt sacred. They no longer argued about small things. They laughed more, loved deeper, lived slower. That's what negative visualization does. It reminds you that everything is temporary and therefore precious. It's not about fearing loss. It's about remembering that you have something worth losing. Try this. Before bed tonight, imagine tomorrow wasn't promised. How would you spend tonight differently? Who would you forgive? Who would you thank? That awareness, that fragile beauty of the present moment, is what grounds you when life feels chaotic, because gratitude and fear cannot exist in the same breath. 6. Focus on the present moment. If you think about it, most of our anxiety doesn't come from what's happening right now. It comes from replaying the past or worrying about the future. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. They taught that peace lives only in one place, the present moment. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." I remember talking to a soldier who had just come home from deployment. He told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Out there you learn to focus on one breath, one step, one decision. If you think too far ahead, you lose your calm, and maybe your life." That's pure Stoicism. You can't fight pressure by thinking about tomorrow's problems. You can only respond to this one right here. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I suffering because of what's happening, or because of what I'm imagining? Come back to the moment, feel your breath, notice the air, the sounds, the sensations of now. That's where peace lives, not in what was or what might be, but in what is. Even Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, began each day by reminding himself, "Today is all I have." If he could stay grounded in the present while running an empire, we can certainly practice the same during a tough meeting, a breakup, or a sleepless night. 7. Amor fati, love your fate. If there's one Stoic idea that turns pain into power, it's this. Amor fati, love your fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it, as if every event were designed to help you grow. This isn't easy. How do you love something that hurts? How do you find peace in loss, rejection, or failure? The Stoics would say, because resistance multiplies suffering. When you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this teaching me, the energy changes. You move from victimhood to wisdom. A client once told me about the day she was laid off from her dream job. She cried for hours, but a week later she said, "Maybe this isn't the end, maybe it's the beginning." 6 months later she launched her own business, something she never would have done otherwise. That's amor fati in motion. Loving your fate doesn't mean loving pain itself, it means loving the process that shapes you. Because what looks like punishment often turns out to be preparation. When you start living that way, even hardship becomes meaningful. Every challenge is sculpting you into someone calmer, wiser, and freer. 8. Journal your thoughts. If you want to train your mind to stay calm, you must learn to see your thoughts, not be trapped by them. And there's no better tool for that than journaling. Every night the Stoics wrote to themselves. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations wasn't a book, it was his private journal. A king alone with his thoughts, asking himself, what did I do well today? What did I do poorly? What can I learn from it? Writing creates distance between you and your emotions. It's like taking your thoughts out of the storm and putting them on paper where you can finally look at them clearly. I once worked with a high-level executive who was constantly stressed. I told him to write down his frustrations before bed. No editing, no judgment. 2 weeks later, he said, I didn't realize how much of my pressure was self-inflicted. When I write it out, it loses power. That's the secret. You don't have to solve everything in your journal. You just have to see it. Because once you can name your thoughts, they stop controlling you. Try this tonight. Write one paragraph about something that's been weighing on you. Then ask, is this within my control? If it is, act. If it isn't, let it go. The page becomes your quiet mentor, your mirror for growth. 9. Remember, everything is temporary. The last Stoic practice is one that humbles and frees us at the same time, remembering that everything, good or bad, is temporary. No storm lasts forever, no pain is permanent, time moves, life changes, and everything you're carrying right now, this pressure, this fear, this uncertainty, it will pass. Epictetus reminded his students, when you kiss your child, say to yourself, tomorrow they may die. Not to be cruel, but to remind them to love deeply while they can. It's uncomfortable to think this way, but it's liberating. Because when you realize nothing lasts, you stop clinging so tightly. You appreciate people more. You savor ordinary days. You stop waiting for life to calm down before you feel peace. And instead you find it here, in the middle of the mess. I remember visiting a patient once, a man in his 70s who had just lost his wife after 50 years of marriage. He was quiet, but not broken. He told me, the pain doesn't go away, but it reminds me how lucky I was to have something that hurts this much to lose. That's Stoic wisdom in its purest form. Even loss becomes a reason for gratitude. So when pressure feels unbearable, whisper to yourself, this too shall pass. Not as a cliche, but as a truth. Because no matter how heavy life feels right now, change is already on its way. And when you understand that, peace finds you naturally, not because the world calmed down, but because you did. When you practice these 9 principles, they become a kind of mental armor. Not to help you escape life, but to help you move through it with calm and grace. When pressure hits, remember you don't need the world to slow down, you just need your mind to. And that's what the Stoics mastered, a quiet strength that doesn't depend on circumstances but on character. Take a deep breath. You've come this far, now let's bring it all together. In the next part, we'll explore the closing reflection, how to integrate these practices into your life, and how calmness, once trained, becomes your greatest source of power. Take a slow breath with me for a moment. You've just traveled through 9 Stoic practices. Not rules, not doctrines, but gentle reminders to return to yourself when life feels too heavy. You see, calmness isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, like strength, like wisdom. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you accept what you can't control, every time you find meaning in pain or gratitude in impermanence, you're shaping your inner character, quietly, invisibly, from the inside out. And maybe that's the real lesson the Stoics were trying to teach us all along. Life doesn't get easier, you get steadier. Marcus Aurelius ruled through war and plague. Epictetus was born a slave. Seneca faced exile and death. None of them had it easy, and yet they spoke of peace. Not because the world was calm, but because they were. That's what Stoicism offers, not a promise of perfection, but a path to peace in the middle of imperfection. A way to stay human, thoughtful, grounded, awake, even when the noise outside feels deafening. So the next time pressure visits, in your job, your relationships, or your own mind, remember this: you don't have to win every battle, you don't have to fix everything, you just have to meet each moment with clarity and courage. Take one breath, then another, and let that breath be your anchor. Because the calm you seek isn't out there somewhere waiting for you, it's already inside you, beneath the noise, beneath the fear. You just have to return to it, again and again. And if you ever forget, come back here. That's what this channel is for. At Stoic Awakening More, we explore what it truly means to live with strength, peace, and purpose, not as abstract ideas, but as living practices for the modern world. Every video here is an invitation to slow down, to think deeply, to remember who you are beneath all the pressure. So if this message spoke to you, if it helped you breathe a little easier, or see your struggles with new eyes, then I'd love for you to be part of this growing community of thoughtful minds. Subscribe to the channel, not for algorithms, but for yourself. Because every day we'll walk through ancient wisdom and modern lessons that can reshape the way you meet your days. Leave a comment, share what resonated with you most from today's video. Maybe it was control what you can, or amor fati, with style, or simply the idea that calm is a practice. I read every message, and your reflections often help someone else who might be struggling right now. Hit the like button if this brought value to your day. It's a small act, but it helps these ideas reach others who need them. Share this video with someone who's carrying too much pressure lately. You never know whose life you might touch with just one message of stillness. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more calm. And maybe together we can bring a little of that calm back into the world. One mind, one breath, one act of awareness at a time. This is Stoic Awakening More. Stay calm, stay strong. And as always, remember, the storm will pass, but the strength you build through it, that stays.